Hi, I'm Sharon Smallwood, and together with my good friend and colleague Phil Gordon, we're very pleased to be bringing you the Whitsunday People video podcast. Our first 5 podcasts, of which this is one, are connected. They might be 5 very different women, but they're all working towards the same cause, which is our inaugural Team Whitsundays Dancing CEOs raising funds and awareness for Women's Legal Service Queensland. I do need to let you know that this contains themes around domestic and family violence. And if you or anyone you know is triggered by these themes or needs to speak to a professional, please follow the help links in the podcast description. We do very much hope that you find these women's stories engaging, inspiring, and informative. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the Whitsunday People video podcast, where we bring you stories from people around the region who really make this place what it is. And it's ironic and a complete honour that our first podcast guest today is a real Whitsundays local. I don't say that lightly. Yes. I've got here Alice Harriott.
Hello.
Who, just a little
Fantastic.
bit of introduction about you, Alice. You're the Director and Principal Dentist at Whitsunday Family Dental. Mm-hmm. You're a partner of Restore Sleep Clinic, Whitsundays.
Right. Yeah.
You are one of our inaugural Team Whitsundays dancing CEOs. More about that later.
Sure. And
as I introduced you a minute ago, you're actually a genuine bona fide local, born and raised in the district.
That's me.
And I think if you've ever heard the name Faust, there might be something here. So
connection there.
Just tell me a little bit about your family.
Sure. Well, I'm all of those things, yes. And very fortunately, Sharon, I did grow up here in this amazing part of the world. It's God's country. It's my family. Both of my parents grew up here in Proserpine, and although I've spent all of my life in Bowen, the Greater Whitsundays is my home. And yes, my grandfather, or my family, my mother's family, are the Faust, so they've had an enormous role in the formation of this town, and really actually even the formation of down here in Nellie Beach and the Whitsundays as we know it, it's certainly in its early stages. So there's a lot of history here for me. All of my family are here. It's my special place, definitely. It's my happy place.
And it's quite a big family, isn't it?
We are a big family, yeah. There were 2 brothers originally, the 2 Faust brothers, who moved to this area. I should know the dates and I don't, I'm afraid. But the 2 of them began Faust. Well, it was the department store, and in those days that was the place that everyone came to. It was essential. It was haberdashery. It was, groceries. It was probably liquor and saddlery, and, it was quite amazing. And in fact, both of my families, my mother's family and my father, the Bishops, grew up here as well. And they all have stories about certainly that department store. I remember it as a child. Of course, it no longer exists as it was, but it was quite a special, even the building. Anyway, quite a special place. And the 2 brothers, my grandfather was Charlie Faust, and he eventually took over the cattle and land and agriculture. That's kind of where we come from. And the other side of the family continued on with the store and the department store, and it still exists. It's quite amazing, really. So there's lots of us.
And lots of real rich history there.
Yeah. I think, definitely a lot of history. And I think also I know from the stories that I've been told, and I must say I've been really blessed with a family that loves storytelling. We know a lot about ourselves, which is important. It's certainly an important thread in my life. And storytelling, I think, is so important. But I know that Granddad Charles was my great-grandfather. Charles was particularly generous. I think he saw need, and I think there are a lot of people kids he educated who certainly weren't his family, and a lot of I know farmers, he helped out at different times when they needed it. I think he had the ability to do it, but he also saw need for that. And it's something that runs through me. It's an important part of my life as well. So
that's incredible. And I really like what you said there about how your family have been really big on storytelling and sharing those stories, because that it does help, doesn't it, with the sense of identity.
Yeah, 100%.
You're quite rooted in who you are and where you come from. That's really important growing up.
Yep.
So tell us a little bit about growing up here. What was it like to actually grow up in the Whitsundays? Because I think so many of us that have, and I've been here 15 odd years now. And I consider myself a local. I'm very passionate about the place. And a lot of people I know that have come here later in life and spent similar periods of time to me, perhaps some shorter, perhaps some longer. We're all very passionate about the place. But having been here your whole life and as a child, tell us a little bit about that.
I think the one thing that I certainly is so obvious, profound, the thing that sticks for me is the incredible sense of freedom. It was, and I remember, particularly, I'm in Bowen here too. I first thought I was a townie up in Bowen. That's where we were, and we could, without sounding delinquent, we would roam around, and I don't know, our kids would hang out together, and we kind of knew everybody. So there was a great sense of, I didn't find that claustrophobic. Some people find that I find that very safe, and a really great sense of knowing everyone knew who I was and knew who my family were if I needed hand, even as a little kid, And then we'd come down here and we would be out on the farm and down in the Proserpine River in a canoe, crabbing, and we were muddy, and it was just messy and fabulous. We also had this amazing opportunity. We spent a fair bit of time. Granddad Faust ran some cattle we had Dent Island for a long time. So as a little kid, I remember even going over there on a barge. We'd hang out, there were cattle there, we'd run cattle, there were goats. It was in the time of Dent Island that they began, on Hamelo Island, I think they just introduced buggies. And so we'd get to go over there and have an ice cream. And I don't know, life here it just seemed so easy. Through a child's eye, I know, but it was, there was a really great sense, I think there still is, but a really great sense of community and belonging here. People really banded together for initiatives, for community initiatives. I remember the show queens and it was quite extraordinary place growing up.
That actually sounds almost a little bit idyllic. I'm getting a bit nostalgic just even listening to you say that.
Well, it was.
Yeah.
It was quite special.
I think that's what I pick up about it today even. So yeah, to see that through and to have that through the eyes of a child would be quite something. So tell us a little bit about your schooling, where you went to school and how you got on the path to become a doctor and a dentist. How did that happen?
Yeah, so my father, my uncle and have been dentists here in the Whitsundays for about 45 years. And so here in Proserpine, Bowen, Collinsville, and then in Cannonvale. And believe it or not, I feel like that had nothing to do with my journey, but that was my background. I suppose I knew that sort of environment really well. I spent most of my time in Bowen in schooling, and then went to boarding school in Brisbane, and I was educated by the Sacred Heart or Sacre-Cœur nuns, and not that there's many nuns there, but that was a Sacre-Cœur education. And really interestingly, Sharon, they really believe in educating women to change the world. And that sounds maybe cliched, but there was a really big emphasis on obviously education, but education for good. You needed to take that out and do something with it, and really actually maybe even serve, whatever that looks like. And that stuck with me. I mean, it's an amazing sisterhood. It formed that alumni formed an enormous part of my identity for sure. But I knew maybe I felt I had both a purpose, but I had to serve. And I think also that comes from my history and my family, the generosity, the things that I've seen my own family do. I felt a really important need for a purposeful life. And for me, I really love people. So it was kind of a no-brainer. I first went to uni and I studied radiography and then transitioned out of that into dentistry. I love it because I love the work I do. I love the people I work with. And it gives me a really great sense, I suppose, of service and caring, which I love to do. But through that practice, I can, and certainly I've been here at Whitsunday Family Dental for 15 years. So in that time, I've kind of really, I have a different connection with this community now, in a service way, I suppose, or a serving way.
So you're a director and principal dentist, as I said, at Whitsunday Family Dental, but are you a co-founder or what's the setup there?
Yeah. So no. Well, my father, so Brian and his brother Kevin were some of the original dentists in Bowen, and their practices, they had branch practices in Collinsville, like I said before, and down here in Cannonvale. And
so was that the genesis of Whitsunday Family Dental?
Yes,
right.
It was Proserpine Dental for a long, long time. And Sharon, it's funny because I think about it a lot. And certainly Dad moved here and took that practice over on his own with my mother, Marianne. And it was theirs for probably 25 years. And then I bought in, and so Dad and I are partners now. That's the genesis of our business. But it's a really interesting thing because, I mean, Dad's my dad, but he's been the most amazing mentor in a professional sense, but also Dad has always believed that in his practice, that when we live in, even though we live in this regional area or rural, remotish area, when he started out as a dentist, there weren't specialists, there wasn't access to really great health care as you would expect in the city. And that really bugged him. And I know that he has always invested incredibly in his practice, and we have amazing, technology and cameras and amazing machines that make crowns and cool things that happen, microscopes and it's not, that's not a plug for the business. It's more that he saw that even living here, people living in regional areas deserve the same level, quality, care, access to health care as they do in the city.
Absolutely.
And we all know it. We all know we have to travel to see a specialist or travel to see people, but in our own way. That's kind of been an enormous ethos of our practice, that we've always maintained really high levels of education for our staff, for ourselves, but ultimately for our patients, so because they deserve that.
It's about upholding some basic human rights, it sounds
very
like,
much.
actually. Yeah.
And that, we just because we live here, we shouldn't have to accept that we get less levels of care. So anyway, that's an enormous part of what drives us in the practice, but also I think, certainly drives me
personally,
for sure.
So when someone comes in to utilise the services of Whitsunday Family Dental, to you, it's not just another case number. It's not just teeth. It's a lot more than that.
No.
Can you share? Obviously, I know that in the medical profession, I'm sure dentistry is no different. There are things you can and can't talk about, but are you able to share any kind of standout moments or things that have really stuck with you because you feel like you've really made that difference and achieved that purpose of service?
100, yeah.
Tell me.
Where do I start? No. Do you know, there's on a really probably a light level maybe, there's this amazing fellow who's become a friend really, lives in Texas. He's an Aussie, but he lives in Texas. And he was here visiting, and he broke a tooth or something, and he was totally blown away that he could come in. Like I said, we have this incredible facility. You can essentially, it's a milling machine, a three-dimensional milling machine. We could recreate his tooth, mill it in ceramic, and have it cemented in that day. And he left, he couldn't believe that a place like Airlie Beach, these were his words, a place like Airlie Beach would have technology to be able to do something like that. And he raved about it. And since become great friends, he makes a point of always coming back to see us every 6 months from Texas, of all places.
Dental tourism,
dental
right there.
tourism, yeah. I'm all about it. I'm all about that. It's an amazing place to come and have a holiday and have really great quality dental work done.
People go to Thailand. Why not come to Early Beach? Right.
Agree,
well,
Sharon.
I think we're onto something.
That's a whole conversation, Sharon. But actually, there's also been a couple of cases where, I've certainly been able to. Maybe they're more difficult cases, but certainly been able to. Whether it was a little child that I could see at the Proserpine Hospital and be able to do an enormous amount of work they didn't have to go to Brisbane for, which financially, logistically wasn't going to happen for that child. I was able to do that, and we do a lot of implant surgery and a lot of work, so a lot of restorative work. And maybe that also leads into why I've started doing what I'm doing here too. There were a couple of really significant cases that motivated me. They changed my life, actually. I'm hoping it might have changed theirs too, but it really changed my direction in how I look at a greater way that I can help people in this community.
Okay. So in terms of what you're doing now, and one of the big reasons that we're sitting down here and talking today, it's the Dancing CEOs program. So for those who are watching or listening who don't know, Dancing CEOs is the flagship fundraiser for a charitable organisation called Women's Legal Service Queensland, which is all about helping women and children in a very dire time of need. So we're talking about women and children who are experiencing domestic violence here. And Dancing CEOs tends to handpick or people come forward to be part of the fundraiser who are obviously in positions of either CEOs or they're in positions of authority or quite high up in business, and that's where you come in as your dentist profession. Now, your story of how you came to be on the inaugural team Whitsundays, because there's never been a Whitsundays team before. This has always been quite a Brisbane-based initiative. So again, we're talking about bringing things to the regions, and what you're doing with providing a first world service in a very regional place. This is a similar thing to the story of what's going on with Dancing CEOs and this team Whitsundays. How did you come to be on Team Whitsundays? How did that happen?
Sure. Well,
because you're one of four. I just want to
we're one of four.
in there.
Yeah, we're a team
There's
of four.
Dancing CEOs. One is one's yourself, obviously.
Yes.
Then we've got Candice Crosley from Whitsunday Transit. We've got Kate Purdy, who's the CEO of the Coral Sea Marina, which is obviously the beautiful space that we're sitting in right now. And then we've got Julie Telford, who is the co-founder of Red Cat Adventures and the business development manager for Sealing Whitsundays. Yes, very diverse group of women. So how did you come to be one of those four?
So to be really honest, it was a wild conversation over a few drinks. I was asked, would I do this, be in a dance competition, but for an amazing cause? That was as simple as that.
And who was the
Candice.
person? So Candice. So,
yes,
okay.
She was definitely she's the glue, that is for sure. And to be really honest, Sharon, I just said yes. I really didn't know what I was getting myself into. And I thought maybe I'd be dancing and I don't mind dancing, but I'm not a dancer. And I thought maybe I might be dancing at the Proserpine Entertainment Centre in front of like a few local groups of people. And, I'd give that a crack. But
had you ever heard of Dancing
Never,
CEOs?
I'd never heard of it. And to be really honest with you,
had you heard of Women's Legal Service?
I had never heard of Women's Legal Service Queensland, no. And so that over the last few months, it became very obvious to me. I found out pretty quickly that actually, no, I'd be dancing at Brisbane City Hall in front of, 1,500, 2,000 people. And I was a little bit, again, I'm not sure what I've got myself into here, but I've spent a lot of time with the organisation and collectively as a group.
This is since signing up?
Since signing up.
So signing up, just for some time context, obviously we're in February now, the very beginning of February, and you signed up mid last year, was it?
It was about September, October.
And I think October was the actual public launch, wasn't it?
That's correct.
So that's been October, November, December, January. it's only really been 4 months.
That's right.
And in that time, going from never having heard about Women's Legal Service Queensland or dancing CEOs before to now, 4 months later, what have you learned?
So, I mean, the work, certainly I've learned a lot about this organisation in itself and the work that they do. I mean, largely, my understanding is they provide certainly free legal service, advice, but at really, really critical moments for, like you said, women and children who are experiencing domestic violence and family violence. I think what I have learnt more than anything, though, Sharon, is just how prevalent it is and how many people are affected and how many people benefit from this service. And I suppose, you know, I think we were just talking about this the other day, and I think the latest statistics is 2 women dying every week in this state. I actually still can't even, I've been talking about it to a lot of people, I can't get my head around that number. Domestic violence.
It's pretty horrific.
It's really horrific. And I think, you know, I'm going to say this sounds naive, but I used to think that, you know, if you were educated and maybe you had some money or some independent financial sort of situation, that you'd be okay and it wouldn't happen to you. That wouldn't happen to you. And I can't believe how naive that is, and I know that isn't the case. And in fact, and I suppose this is why maybe saying yes to this was so easy for me. But I had a couple of cases you asked before about in my professional sense. I think I'm the first health professional who's ever been involved in dancing CEOs, certainly the first dentist. But years ago I had a case, a woman who was referred to me, and they'd asked me just to help her out with her smile, you know, her smile. And she clearly had been having, there'd been physical violence for, I don't know how long, and we didn't really talk too much about it, but there was just nothing left of her mouth. It was tragic. It was really tragic. And I clearly have never forgotten that. And so my job was to restore her smile, but it was so much more than just teeth and a smile. It was her ability, it's her confidence and a sense of image and self and esteem. And you know, it was a really profound. It changed my way of looking at maybe what I do, the significance of what I can do for some people professionally, but also. You know, similarly, there was another story of a woman who was all of those things I said before. She was independent and definitely financially independent, but was in a really coercive, you know, a really insidious, abusive family situation, relationship and home. And I had to do something. I felt like I needed to do more than just my drilling and filling and smiles. That's super important, but I really wanted to be an advocate for this organisation.
Take it one step further.
Take it one step further. And so I see it as an enormous blessing actually in my life to have been asked by Candice, but to have got to know this group and what they do. Yeah.
The other thing that I know I've spoken to you about previously is that you're a mum of 4 girls.
Yeah.
And that's a really big motivation for you, because I asked you a while ago why one of the whys, and one of the first things you said to me, I think your words were, I have 4 girls and I pray that they may never need a service 100%. Like this, and I'm dancing so that one day nobody has to. That's and right. Those words really stuck with me to the point that I remember them like that. So your girls, and I've been lucky enough to experience your home hospitality. You have a loving family. You have a wonderful husband, 4 loving girls. So I think one of the things that speaks to me about as well is the fact that, you know, you were saying you might have thought yourself naive for thinking that this doesn't happen to some people, but also for those of us that haven't or aren't experiencing domestic violence, it doesn't mean that we don't care or that we're not acutely aware 100%. I mean, tell me a little bit about how your girls motivate you and your own family, sort of.
I think it's everything that you've said, and I know I've said it myself. I think I think I suppose it's my motherly instinct to always want to, yes, protect them, but not protect them, prepare them for life. And, you know, they're very ranging ages. I have a 5-year-old, I have an 18-year-old. And so I think I'm very aware of my 18-year-old's about to, you know, hit life. It's exciting for her. And they'll, you know, everything about that stage in your life of adventure and relationships and choices.
Yes.
And, you know, I think you're always so used to saying to smaller children, you make good choices, make good choices. But, you know, sometimes you don't know what those are until sometimes you're in them, and actually maybe the choice is to get out of them.
Yeah.
And I think that that's probably my motivator here, is to try and certainly both my husband and I are trying to prepare the girls as much as we can for life, but also, you know, for making mistakes. It's life, you know, and you do that, but also always knowing that they have, trying to create a really supportive environment. Doesn't matter what they do in their life, doesn't matter what happens to them in their life, they have somewhere that they need, a safe space to be. If that's what we can do in our family, that's what we've always strived to do, because I'm very aware that that isn't the case for
a lot of people. Yeah.
And, you know, and I think that I want to be able to also instill in them the need, you know, the importance of also looking out for other people in their lives, because, you know, I have been so lucky and so blessed in my life. They are so lucky and blessed in theirs. And I think we do have a responsibility to be a bit broader and be more open to people, you know, being aware that it isn't the case for everyone. Yeah.
Well, I think that you are an amazing role model for them. And
Thanks.
There's another way that you're probably an amazing role model right now that you...
The obvious.
Yeah, you may not have really wanted to happen,
Sure.
And it's impacting everything. Tell us a little bit. You're obviously sitting here talking to me with a leg brace on.
Yes.
Tell us a bit about what happened.
Yes. Well, look, it is an injury that I've sustained on holiday, and it's initially
skiing
as a skiing holiday. Yeah. So there's a few broken bits and pieces in there, and anyway, things that all can be mended. But at the moment, it's very acute, and to be really honest, Sharon, I feel like it's only a couple of weeks old, and it feels like it's put a bit of a full stop. It felt like a bit of a full stop in my life.
You're training to get on stage and do a big dance competition.
Exactly, that's right. This is not, you know, it's I had heels ready waiting for me when I'm back, and all the fun part of what all of this is about, the dancing in May. So I'm pretty determined. I know that I've got a long way to go, but ultimately, and I'm sure I'll be on that stage in May. I know I'm going to be in some capacity. But to be really honest, Sharon, I maybe over the last few days, I've really, you know, this will heal. This too will pass. And, you know, it feels like a big deal. It's not a big deal. You know, it could be so much worse. And I've actually spent some more time, you know, speaking with some people with Women's Legal Service. I mean, my God, I can't even talk about this compared to some of the setbacks and challenges that other people experience. And so this is a challenge, but definitely one that it'll be okay. You know, I can get through this. Yeah.
That's I really admire your spirit, because I saw you last week when it was all still very new, and it's it's tough. When life doesn't go the way that you think it's going to go.
That's right. That's right. And I think that it can be, you know what, you're right. And last week was a hard week because I had a plan and I had everything kind of, you know, sorted and set out for this year. And absolutely, this isn't part of the plan. But that's life, isn't it? It's life. And I suppose there's a lesson in that, in being able to, like water, flow around those obstacles and find another path. And whatever that looks like. Yeah.
So at the moment, the plan is that you are ploughing on. You've got some physio. I think you've got various bits and pieces, and you are 100% that you're going to be on that stage on May the 31st at Brisbane City Hall.
Watch me.
One way or another.
Yeah.
And in the meantime, because Dancing CEOs isn't just about the dance competition. It's obviously raising as much money as possible between now and the night. And every team's got a target of 41,000 for the 41 years of women's legal service.
That's right.
Team Whitsundays, of course, wants to smash that out of the park.
Well.
Yes, again, there's some real positive thinking there. But there's a lot of fundraising initiatives that are going on with Team Whitsundays. And one of the ones that is directly connected to you that I wanted to ask you a bit about was the dental raffle. So you've got 2 quite amazing prizes up for grabs.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about those?
Yep, sure. So again, in my, well, there are 2 prizes in my my capacity, professional capacity. There is one for Whitsunday Family Dental. It's a $10,000 dental package for orthodontics or general dental carried out by me. And I'm very happy to be able to do that for anyone, in this region or further abroad, I suppose.
That dental tourism we were talking about.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Come to the
You know what? There are some amazing people who've, I know flying here from all over and come to stay for a few months of the year. It's perfect for them too. That's true. And a great colleague of mine in Brisbane, Elizabeth Fisher from Brisbane Orthodontic Specialists, has also donated her time in an orthodontic case for a child, for an adult, also worth $10,000. They're very, very generous prizes, both I think in time and money. Both, those sorts of things, those sorts of treatments usually carry on over a couple of years. So I'm very happy to be able to donate that, or certainly of my time in that respect. And but all of those proceeds are going directly to Women's Legal Service Queensland, which is really what this is all about. Yep.
So how do people jump on that opportunity?
Yeah, so I think they know that there's a lot of links through our Facebook site, Team Whitsundays, so our Facebook page, Team Whitsundays. Through Whitsunday Family Dental, there are links there, and we've got some QR codes. It's really very simple to buy those tickets. So yeah.
Excellent. All right. Well, I think that's a fantastic initiative. There's obviously a pathway ahead. It would be great to catch up at the end of all of this, wouldn't it? And just see how things have progressed.
Yeah, that's right.
But
see how far we smashed our target.
And just this whole journey as well that you're going through with getting through your injury and all of that, and how it all
I'd love to catch up with you again.
That would be amazing.
It's been great to sit and
It has been really great to sit, and thank you so much. You really I think there's a lot of ways that you are a real inspiration, Alice. So thank you.
Thanks, Sharon. In our own ways, we all do what we can.
And thank you for tuning in. Well, thank you very much for sitting through one of our very first Whitsunday People video podcasts. We really hope that what you listened to or watched meant something to you. We think these women connected to Team Whitsundays Dancing CEOs and Women's Legal Service Queensland have an amazing story to tell, each of them. And we really hope that came across and that you felt that too. I would like to reiterate that if you or anyone you know is experiencing domestic or family violence, or if there was anything that you found unsettling about anything that was discussed, then please do follow the helpline links in this podcast description. I'd also like to point out that because this is a fledgling podcast, we don't have a huge following yet. We are doing this for love. We're not doing it as a moneymaker at this stage. We're actually helping these ladies out. How you can help to get this message out more and thereby hopefully help them raise more money is by liking it, by sharing it, by subscribing, by doing all of those things that help just build a movement and spread the word. So we hope that we can carry on doing this and bringing you more content like this. Thank you.